Before we start this video, I just want to start by saying this is just my opinion. Everything I say in the video about the levels, the level design and mechanics, just my opinion. If that upsets you, I apologize, I do. But those are my stances, and I'm not going to back down from them. So please remain civil. That's all I ask. Remain civil. Watch the video the whole way through. Don't start a comment war. That's it. And if you haven't bought the game yet, buy it, play it yourself, and then come back and watch the video. Thank you for tuning in. Alright? I'll see you in the review. Now, let's get into Chapter 6. My least favorite chapter in the entire game! Yay! If you can't tell already, I have been actively trying to hold in my curses, because, in all honesty, I am trying to give this game my respect. But here, fuck no! Fuck no. Let's get started with the best part of the chapter, which is easily the chat between Madeline and Theo at the campfire. It's, in my opinion, a good character moment for the two of them, and while it doesn't fit in the show-don't-tell territory that Chapter 5's level aesthetic contained, it still gives a good view on how the two characters are processing the events that have led them to this point. Theo finally starts to go more into his own past, where we learn about his sister, Alex, who he sees as similar to Madeline, explaining how he honestly doesn't know what to do with his life and is just hoping to enjoy the climb. Madeline explains her own past, as well as the situation with her negative half. This discussion exhibits a believable friendship forged by the perils of their journey. Eventually, Theo asks Madeline if she wants to destroy her negative half, stating that it could hurt her as well. She answers that she does, stating that her negative half only bullies and harasses her, and that whatever protecting she claims to be doing is false. But then Theo makes an interesting point. Maybe Madeline genuinely does believe that she's protecting her other half, and that maybe Madeline could learn to control her instead of having it be the other way around. Eventually, after discussing more things like Theo's grandfather and why Madeline came to the mountain, the two of them decide to sleep for the night. Madeline wakes up in another dreamlike state and encounters a lone feather. We'll get way more into the feather in just a little bit. She soars up to the sky and eventually encounters Madeline again. She attempts to cut Madeline off from herself, saying that she no longer needs her and that they can be happily separated. Madeline does not take this well, at all, and instead attacks Madeline. The latter begins having another panic attack, but uses the feather technique that Theo taught her earlier. But it doesn't work. And Madeline, holy shit, she climbed out of her portrait box. That's terrifying. She then proceeds to drag Madeline down to the very bottom of the mountain, while Theo watches in horror. That's the preface for the rest of the chapter. And it is the only good part of it other than the end. Let's talk about Chapter 6's gameplay, or as I like to call it, a steaming hot pile of shit. Oh no! First off, fuck the feather. Fuck this stupid, awful piece of fucking garbage. It has the most slippery and nonsensical control I have ever had the fucking misfortune to use. Just slightly tilting in a fucking direction sends you on a 180-degree shot straight to that position, most of the time killing you instantly. The power-up itself is often used in conjunction with obstacles that deliberately make death by the power-up worse. To put it into an analogy, imagine driving a car on a road covered in oil, except you're flying. That's what it feels like. Then, there's these fucking pinball springs that bounce you all around, often leading you to your death. It's cool that it resets your dash, but outside of that you just go boing and bounce all around the fucking place. it makes me want to put a fucking gun to my mouth and pull the fucking trigger just so I can escape the pain of playing through this utter fucking misery of a shit stage. Combine this with Spikes in the second half of the level being a boss fight against Madeline, and you have one of the most bullshit fucking levels I have ever fucking played. And I played Separation Anxiety. So, Madeline winds up coming across the old lady again, who convinces her to try and genuinely talk to Madeline, with our heroine questioning how she would find her. The elderly woman states that if she is a part of her, she'll be able to find her in no time. Eventually, Madeline comes across her evil half and tries to convince her to join her in climbing the mountain. Madeline declines, and thus we have to go through this terrible fucking chase boss. You can't make this shit up, man. This fight represents everything I hate about this game. Balancing multiple fucking gimmicks, check. Playing on lengthy screens where one screw-up means starting at the motherfucking beginning, check. Dealing with the fucking boss's own unique gimmicks, double check. This fight has you chasing Madeline continuously as you try to touch her. She usually moves further through the screen after each hit, until she eventually bursts away through a wall. All the while you have to deal with general obstacles like spikes, while also dodging energy pellets, moving platforms, as well as a full-on Kama Hadouken laser that she fires at you constantly. Then the level gimmicks start to come in, resulting in you balancing spikes, energy beams, moving platforms, the feather, the pinball spring gimmicks at the same motherfucking time. It makes me just want to smash my fist through a monitor and call it a day. It is just too fucking much. This fight lasted 30 minutes. 30 motherfucking minutes. In most other platformers, you would have been done and like 5 to 10 levels ahead in that time. To compare, this fight takes about as long, if not longer, than it takes to slay the ancient dragon in Dark Souls 2, which is known for being easily the longest boss fight in the game due to the sheer amount of health the boss has and the amount of damage it deals. This fight is as long as some of the hardest RPG bosses of all time. If you haven't gathered it yet, this boss fight is really fucking long and overstays its welcome by an absolute fuckload. This was the point in the game where I wanted it to end, both of the times I played it. This level's sheer amount of obstacles and expectations are, in my opinion, so fucking ridiculous that it made me want to quit the game entirely. The only other game that I've reviewed so far that has done that to me is Mary-Kate and Ashley's Sweet 16 License to Drive. And that game was genuinely awful just for how boring it was. Celeste suffers from a similar problem. It gets so hard that it becomes repetitive and boring. And if I recall, that isn't sex. That isn't good at all. I figure I should get this out of the way now. I don't hate difficult games. As of this review, I've been actively playing Dark Souls 2 and the original Dark Souls for my personal entertainment, and both of those have been very enjoyable, even if Dark Souls 2 has a lot of flaws. I enjoy Cuphead, I enjoy Hotline Miami, I enjoy Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, I enjoy Final Fantasy V. I can enjoy hard games. But Celeste is beyond being hard. Celeste goes for being hard so much that it just goes full circle from difficult to boring. But by the end, it leaves me wanting to play something else. When a game has done that to me, I can't enjoy it, no matter how hard I try. Ultimately, once the boss fight ends, the two halves reconcile and decide to finish the climb up the mountain, with the old lady and Theo giving them their full support. Ending Chapter 6. We're finally at Chapter 7, which is primarily just the climb to the top of the mountain. It is my second least favorite level of the game simply because its primary purpose is serving as a retread of every other level in the game. Which, while story-wise makes perfect sense, is honestly just really dull to go through. Though, by this point, I had already been broken by Chapter 6, and just wanted the game to end already. You have the double dash now, which you unlock after the boss fight in the previous chapter, which is cool at the very least. Eventually, the Madeleines reach the area just below the summit, and... Wait a second. Are those checkpoints? Where the fuck were those in the previous 2 chapters? Why the fuck are these being introduced now? What a crock of shit! Checkpoints. Fucking checkpoints. I have no idea why these weren't in Chapter 6 or 5. They would have made those chapters way more fucking bearable. I recognize that the whole thing is just the significance of being so close to the peak of Mount Celeste, but fuck! The fact that there are checkpoints here at all means they could have been used earlier in the game, and it pisses me off in hindsight that they aren't. Finally, the 2 heroines reach the peak of Mount Celeste and sit quietly to soak in their victory. Meanwhile, I'm sighing in relief that the game is over and I never have to touch it again. They climb down the mountain together as the credits roll, showing the various environments of the game, such as Oshiro using his blobs to clean the hotel. That's cute. Eventually, the 2 of them stop at the old lady's home, and Madeline bakes a strawberry pie for everyone she's encountered on the journey, the quality of which is decided by the amount of strawberries you gather throughout the entire game. That's right. On top of the primary content, there are also collectibles such as the strawberries. The first time I played this game, I only gathered around a total of 35 strawberries, mostly because I quickly grew fatigued with the game and just blasted through to the end with no concern. This time I did challenge myself somewhat and managed to get around 95 of them, and I will say it can be somewhat fun gathering the strawberries, as it gets you to think. However, gathering some of them is a lot more luck-based than anything else, and can be rather obnoxious to get. Luckily, they only affect a small bit of the epilogue, which really isn't too important, so I'd personally say to collect them only at your own leisure. Important things to collect, however, are the crystal hearts, blue and red, in order to unlock Chapter 8 Core, which is more of a difficult challenge gauntlet from what I've heard. I say heard because, yeah, I haven't bothered to unlock it. From what I'm aware, it doesn't have much to do with the primary plot of the game, and honestly, gathering the crystal hearts is just not something I think I ever want to do. I already don't have fun with this game as it is, but the crystal hearts usually add much more challenge and tend to be out of the way in most of the levels. It can be cool to happen upon them, primarily because the game does encourage exploration, which is a feature I definitely enjoy, but some of these hearts have either really obscure ways of getting them or are just locked behind B-sides, which... dear God. Okay, so in every level you can collect these mixtapes by going through these rhythm challenges. They unlock the level's B-side. If you thought that Celeste's base levels were hard, then you have not fucking seen the B-sides. I only beat and unlocked the first one, and I can say without a shadow of a doubt, skip these. Do not play these. Celeste's base gameplay is already difficult enough, but the B-sides are beyond ridiculous with the amount of shit you have to do to beat them. I only managed to beat the first one by sheer fucking luck, and yeah, I don't think I ever want to put myself through something like that ever again.
So, it seems like your opinion didn't change after all. I knew this game would break you. Now nobody will respect you because you had a negative perspective on a beloved game.
You may be right about the first part. Also the part about not getting respect. But I am not broken by this.
What?
Just because I didn't like the game doesn't mean I don't respect it. And even if I play a game I don't like, that's not going to stop me from reviewing it and showing what I feel about it. That's right. Despite my own massive dislike of the game, I do recommend it. The story is highly engaging, the characters are realistic and charming, the art style is exquisite, and the music is incredible. Even without the gameplay, this is something I can recommend to people as an example of a passion project. Something that was clearly made with love. And I think that Matt Makes Games and Celeste deserve the respect they have. However, that does not mean that lovers of Celeste should deny any negative opinions of the game. Realize that no game, no matter how well crafted, is perfect. There will always be cracks in the seams, and there will always be someone to criticize them. Do not be an elitist. Go out and try to genuinely engage in conversation about the game, be it positive or negative. Don't say shit like this. This does not contribute to any sort of conversation and only makes you look like a massive cunt to the other person.
Damn you, fool. You weren't supposed to play the maturity card. You were supposed to scream like a blithering baboon!
Well, you underestimated how people can think. Just because someone dislikes something doesn't mean that they think that everyone should dislike it. The same should go for liking things. The only way that critiques about video games will improve is through genuine dialogue with other people, so that we can understand each other's opinions and form our own.
Shut up! You are nothing more than a low-class fool, and I will make you pay for this, one way or another, even if I have to force my hand.
Are you going to send an assassin again?
Fuck off, I'm out.
Now back to Dark Souls. Oh yeah, who's the man? Who's the man? That's right, baby. That's right, baby.